Hello, so in today's video I'm going to be trying out some fragrances from Liberty. I've bought some samples and I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about them because I've not really heard too many people discuss the Liberty line of fragrances, and I know it's new or relatively new. So if you've not seen me before, I'm Claire. I talk all about fragrance on this channel. I talk about perfume science, perfume history, perfume psychology, and I also just do some straight perfume reviews just like this one, and also fun perfume tags. So if that kind of thing interests you and you haven't already done so, then please do consider subscribing, and please also press the like button if you do find this review helpful. So just as a bit of background, I haven't tried any of the Liberty fragrances before. I have 4 to try out in this video. They have 10 fragrances on the market. The first fragrances in the range were released in 2023, and then the more recent ones were released last year in 2025. So if you don't know what Liberty's is, it's actually an upmarket London department store, and they also are famous for having lots of different types of fabric. Liberty fabric is synonymous with quality, with interesting prints, and the fragrances that they've produced more recently are based around interpretations of those prints. Liberty is also famous for its fragrance hall, so it makes complete sense to me that they've tried to combine the two things they are most famous for. So let's see what I thought of these fragrances. So the first one I'm going to try out is called Vine Thief, and it's based on this really pretty pattern here. So Liberty say about this one: peek through the grapevines of Liberty's Vine Thief print, where the garden birds hum, hopping between the sprawling vines. Step in and discover our lush and cheeky orris scent. Ripened strawberries and powdery orris are abundant, nourished by smoky leather, musk and vanilla, beckoning you to stay a while. So Vine Leaf is really stunning in the opening. It smells very much of a really syrupy, sweet strawberry. Very much not a natural kind of strawberry smell, much more something you might get with a tinned strawberry in syrup, alongside a slight leatheriness. At first sniff, it made me think of that scene in Mary Poppins, you know, the bit where she's sort of trying to get the children to take medicine and she's then transforming the medicine into different flavours. It made me think of a strawberry flavoured medicine created by Mary Poppins. It does smell kind of like something you would imagine would be magical. The leather here is really soft and supple. It smells almost like the leather that's in La Petite Robe Noire Black Perfecto by Guerlain. It's not a powdery fragrance though, at least in the beginning. As this begins to dry down though after the initial blast, it does become more powdery. The orris becomes more present and it turns into something that smells a little bit more lipsticky, maybe even a little bit more suede-like than leather, and the strawberry drops back too. This fragrance actually made me sneeze slightly, I think because it just is so powdery as this dries down. Did I detect any kind of aroma chemical twang to this? A very, very little bit. It's nothing that's going to kill this one for me. I really like this. I particularly love that strawberry leather opening and the way it transitions into the orris. And I love the sweetness and the muskiness of this too. I do really like orris fragrances and I do have a few in my collection. I wish the lipsticky part stayed for longer in this fragrance, but I think this one is very nice. So next up is Wild Rosinda, which is this pattern here. So Wild Rosinda is described by Liberty as: beneath the fluttering bush of Liberty's decadent blooms print lies a feast of roses and peonies, so generous that even the most gentle of taps could ignite a kaleidoscope of scarlet confetti. Be beguiled by this rich and mysterious floral scent with notes of hot saffron, patchouli and smouldering wood, guaranteed to make a statement. Okay, so this one initially scared me by the mention of saffron. If you have watched my channel before, you will know that saffron is not a note that I love. Sometimes it comes off as rubbery, sometimes it's plasticky to me. Other times I'm absolutely fine with it. So I was a bit concerned about the saffron. So this to me is a fruity rose patchouli fragrance, and there is a sort of slight dark fruitiness to this in the opening, but it's very, very short-lived and it's very mild. It's mostly a green feeling kind of rose patchouli. The geranium, I think, is what's giving it that kind of slight spiciness as well. There's a dark green woodiness to this that somewhat overpowers the rose. It's not overly rubbery or plasticky, so I think we're good with the saffron. But there's certainly a bit of a mild pepperiness, which again could be the geranium. Normally geranium makes rose quite earthy and slightly spiced. And here the rose is slightly dry, also a bit powdery and not really sweet in the slightest. This essentially is a woody rose. I don't think this fragrance really stands out as something different or something that I haven't smelt in other fragrances. I think if you are a fan of rose patchouli combinations, this one is probably not going to light up your life. But I did like the fact that it wasn't crazily strong. I thought that it was done well. And I think this does have an audience, but that audience just isn't me, I'm afraid. So yeah, that's Wild Rosinda. So the first two I think were from the original release of the Liberty range, and the next two are from 2025 releases. So the first one is Liberty 1875. So this fragrance was created in collaboration with the Royal Academy for the 150th anniversary of the Royal Academy. So this fragrance is described as evoking a wood-panelled room. It's infused with a century and a half of subtle laughter and rich tobacco smoke, dressed up for the evening with abundant Indian tuberose flowers that create an irresistible tension. So this one opens with a lovely, sweet, woody, yellow-feeling floral tobacco. It's slightly soapy to begin with, but that is lost early on. There's a lot going on in this fragrance and it definitely smells slightly vintage in a way. I can't quite put my finger on what makes it smell a little bit vintage, but there's just something about this that smells old. And I can see, this fragrance is meant to be an interpretation of a wood-panelled room. It's meant to be, marking a 150th anniversary. I definitely think this takes you back to another time. This is something that really evokes age. After a few moments of this fragrance, you notice that there's kind of a white floral hum underneath the rest of the fragrance, and the ylang-ylang also becomes more prominent. It's definitely got that golden yellow feeling to it, but this is not one of those super sweet banana-y ylang-ylangs. This is more of an old school ylang-ylang, but it's not sort of going into the really strong, dark yellow kind of ylang-ylang. It's a greener, softer feeling, almost fresh feeling ylang-ylang. The freshness might also be being sort of picked up by the juniper. The juniper here is soft. Sometimes with juniper it can be really, really sharp in fragrances and you don't get that feeling at all. There's not really an aquatic sort of edge to this either. It doesn't smell metallic. Sometimes juniper can come off as slightly metallic to me. This is just a really nice, very elegant floral with that undertone of that kind of woodiness, the dustiness, and just sort of that tobacco kind of haze to this. The tobacco here is really sweet, really gentle. It's not dirty or dark. And there's also coumarin here, so that gives it a kind of hay-like feel. It's slightly green feeling, just like a dry hay, basically. It's meadowy. It could even be described as nutty. This whole fragrance feels quite fuzzy. It's more like a recollection of a memory rather than a clear vision of something happening here and now. I really like this fragrance. I think it's got a really interesting vintage modern fusion going on. And I think it really does what it sets out to do. It does make me think of a wood-panelled room. It does make me think of some time gone by. And I think this is a really interesting combination of notes. I don't think this fragrance, though, is particularly me. I'm not sure how much I would wear this one, but honestly, I couldn't stop sniffing this one. It was so interesting. So that's Liberty 1875. So the final fragrance is called Tana Meadow, and that's the print. So Tana Meadow, again, was released in 2025, and it's described as, like the threads of summer woven from sunlight and wildflowers, Tana Meadow is a memory of languid summers suspended under an endless sky. Sparkling citrus dances and mingles with crisp green cypress, unfolding into an amber glow of vanilla orris, praline and musk. So I sprayed this and my instant thought was that kind of light fruity caramel fragrance that was everywhere around 2015. It's definitely on the lighter side, this one. This isn't a deep syrupy kind of caramel. Smelling this, it could be something from the Jimmy Choo original line, a fruity flanker from there, or it could be something like the Scent for Her, but fruitier, lighter. I think it's maybe the praline that I'm smelling more than anything else here, and I think that's maybe what's giving me that kind of 2010s vibe. The pear here is also maybe what's making me think of Jimmy Choo. and there is a little bit of some kind of aroma chemical going on that I'm not so fond of, but it's really not a deal breaker for me. I'm not really getting too much from this one. It's just sort of lightly fruity, lightly floral. There's definitely some vanilla here, and it's just musky. It's one of those kind of just pleasant, fruity floral musks. In the dry down, it does go a little bit more creamy. There's coconut listed, and I think the coconut comes out in the dry down, but in that kind of creamy, kind of white feel rather than anything too milky or any kind of green kind of coconut or fresh coconut. It's definitely a creamier feel. It's the sweetness that I perceive more than anything else with this fragrance. It's just a light, sweet, kind of vanilla kind of smell. I think for me this fragrance is perfectly pleasant, but I think you could find perhaps similar fragrances at lower price points. But I think this one is very well done. Sometimes pear can make me think of nail polish remover in fragrances. There's a very definite feel sometimes of something unpleasant with pear notes. And this pear note is not unpleasant in the slightest. I think it's really well done. I think this fragrance definitely is going to be popular because this one is just the most easygoing of the four that I've tried. But as I've said, I think you could find this at a lower price point. So that's Tana Meadow. So in summary, I think the standout here for me is Liberty 1875, but the one that had me at hello was definitely Vine Thief. And I think if you were trying in store, that would be the one that would be very much love it or hate it because of that very syrupy feeling strawberry in the opening. I think the others were less for me, but I can totally see people loving Tana Meadow because it is so easygoing and it's just a very friendly scent profile. I think these are actually really expensive, but then it's Liberty. So Liberty are quite a higher price department store. So these retail for £45 for 8ml, so a travel spray. And then for 50ml, they retail for £160. And then £225 for the 100ml bottle. So these are things that you would want to sample before you purchased. I have noticed that Liberty tend to put these fragrances in their beauty boxes. So if you did want to try one out and you were interested in the other things in their beauty boxes, that might be a good way to sample them. And I personally bought my samples from a reseller. I think I managed to get 4 of these samples for around £12. So if you do want to sample these, you can find ways to do so more affordably. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do press the like button and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already. And please let me know if you tried any fragrances from Liberty, which are your favourites, which should I check out next? And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.